Right. So yesterday we discussed about some scenarios, especially related to database administration. What is database administration? How the database administration works? That and all we have seen in the last class. And today we are going to start with the SQL Server scenarios. So now I'm going to start from the basics. Basically, SQL Server is RDBMS database. RDBMS means Relational Database Management System. Tell me, Sangmeshwar. I think you are unmuted. Mute. Right. So RDBMS means Relational Database Management System. So nowadays, maximum companies or our clients are working with RDBMS databases only because RDBMS databases can provide security, performance in the scenarios. And coming to next scenario, in RDBMS databases, we can store data only in the form of tables. There is no other facility, only tables format. Okay. Coming to next scenario, SQL Server is product of Microsoft Corporation. See, we have a lot of other Microsoft products in the market. For example, Windows operating system, MS Office, in the same way like .NET. These are all user-friendly products from Microsoft Corporation. In the same way, SQL Server is also user-friendly only because we have something called as a user-friendly tool in SQL Server. The tool name is Management Studio. For maximum tasks, we are going to work with Management Studio only. That's why I can say it is user-friendly. So Management Studio tool contains GUI, graphical user interface part. So by using GUI, you can complete any task within less amount of time, so that I can say it is user friendly. So coming to next scenario, SQL Server is not case sensitive. What is the meaning of case sensitive? Case sensitive means small letters, capital letters issues. For example, you go for programming languages, C++, Java. Assume that you are going to write 50 lines code. If you are, there you cannot use mixed letters because they are case sensitive. But coming to SQL Server, it is not case sensitive. You can go for capital letters, small letters, mixing, no issues at all. That's why I can say SQL Server is not case sensitive. Okay, right. So coming to next scenario, actually the database SQL Server is RDBMS product. But before that, we have DBMS also, database management system. DBMS nowadays completely outdated. Why it is outdated means there are some issues in DBMS. Just now only I discussed like RDBMS databases, we can store data in the form of tables. That's what we discussed. So because of table, you can go for security, you can go for performance also. But yesterday we discussed about file system. We discussed about drawbacks of the file system also. No security, no performance, right? If you go to DBMS databases, there you have to store data in the form of files, not in the form of tables like RDBMS databases, right? That's why DBMS database cannot provide security, cannot provide performance. Because of that reason, DBMS is completely outdated. So we can forget about DBMS databases, right? Only thing you can ask question, Suresh, what are the RDBMS databases available in the market? Oracle, SQL, PL/SQL. In the same way, Microsoft SQL Server, MS Access, MySQL, PostgreSQL, IBM DB2 Database 2000. In the same way, Teradata, these are all RDBMS products. We have different RDBMS databases in the market, right? But SQL Server is familiar RDBMS. You can ask question, how can you say SQL Server is familiar? Based upon usage only, right? Based upon usage only, I can say SQL Server is familiar RDBMS in the market, right? So coming to next scenario, now SQL, this is common doubt for many people. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. See, this language is used to develop the databases. Yesterday we discussed about the development role, creating tables, writing commands, writing queries, writing programs. That and all will be done by SQL, Structured Query Language. Okay. See, this is common language for database development, not only Microsoft SQL Server. You go to any RDBMS database, there you have to work with structured query language. Like in the same way, sometimes what happens, we call it as SQL. Right? Because in the beginning days, it was SQL, Structured English Query Language. Okay. Structured English Query Language. Now it is shortened and now it is only Structured Query Language. Because of that reason, still we are typing it as SQL, but we are calling it as C. Right? So coming to next scenario, if you go to development environment, there completely you are going to depend upon structured query language, SQL. One thing in database development, SQL Server development, SQL part is there. In this, you are going to work with commands, queries. Of course, we can also call it as TSQL. TSQL means transact SQL. So this part, what happens, developer is going to work with programs like stored procedures, functions, triggers, cursors, programs. So commands, queries, they are coming under SQL part. So two different things developer is going to work. Commands part, programming part. Okay. I'm sorry. So coming to DBA, we are not going to write any commands, queries, programs here because our task is completely support environment, right? So why I'm giving this information, still you have any confusion in your mind, like what is the difference between development and database administration? It will be cleared now. Of course, this information is required for you because you are going to keep experience in the resume. Of course, you are DBA, but you should know at least what is development, what will be there in the development, right? So that is the reason why I'm providing development related information. Okay. So coming to next step, here we have to concentrate on different versions available in SQL Server, different editions available in SQL Server, because that is mandatory. When I'm going to explain these scenarios, you feel like not you, everybody, some people feel like boring. Why he is explaining this much of basic information? This much of basic information. That is not basic information. That is valuable information, basically. How it is valuable, I'll explain. See, first version of the SQL Server was 4.0. .0, not .0. Make it .o. Okay, because we are going to work with maximum American clients. They call point as .0 as O. So 4.0, 5.0, 6.0. These are the versions released by Microsoft Corporation in SQL Server. 7.0, 8.0, 9.0, 10.0. So see that the numbers are changing. I mean, version details changing. 2000, 2005, 2008. 11.0, 2012 SQL Server. 12.0, 2014 SQL Server. 13.0, 2016 SQL Server. 14.0, 2017 SQL Server. 15.0, 2019 SQL Server. So these are the versions available in SQL Server from the beginning. Okay. You know one thing, some of the companies still working with 2008, 2012 also. Okay. One of our production server, right now I'm working as DBA for 2 different accounts. So 2 clients are from America only. One is from New York healthcare data. One is for Washington state related data. Because I cannot reveal all scenarios. It is already recording session, right? So there in New York data, New York healthcare data, we are still working with SQL Server 2008 and 2012. Old version of the SQL Server still we are using. So coming to Washington data, we are working with 2017 SQL Server, 2016. There are different servers. Some servers working with SQL Server 2016, some servers working with SQL Server 2017. So why I'm giving this information, you know, you are going to learn SQL Server DBA 2019. After that, you have to prepare your resume. In your resume, you're going to keep only 2019 experience. You're keeping around 3 to 4 years of experience, and you are just putting SQL Server 2019 you are working. How they can believe? Tell me. 3 to 4 years means 3 years before there was no SQL Server 2019, right? Suppose 2016, 2015 like that you started your career. 2015, 2016 like that. There was no SQL Server 2019 and there was no SQL Server 2017 even. So if you know versions details, you are not going to make that type of mistake. Not only resume preparation purpose, somebody asking you which version of the SQL Server you started. You are saying like 2019, but when you started your career 2014, 2015, 2015 like that. How they can believe? They cannot. Easily they can find out you are fake, right? That's why you have to remember even version number and year also. Please check it here. Okay, right? You have to remember this is mandatory, guys. So coming to next scenario, within SQL Server, we have to go for different editions. Editions means different flavors of the SQL Server software. For example, we have SQL Server 2019. Right now we are working in our project. We have development environment, test environment, production environment, right? In the same way, If you want to install SQL Server in real-time environment, you have to go for license. You have to purchase license. Basically, SQL Server is costliest. While we are practicing, just we are going to download trial version something and we can practice. But you cannot use trial versions in real-time environment, right? Okay. So now, for example, you go to production environment. Yesterday we discussed about environment, right? Production environment contains customers' data, end users' data. So in production environment, we need each and every feature of the SQL Server, right? That's why for production environment, what to do, you have to go for enterprise edition of the SQL Server. See, within SQL Server, enterprise edition is costliest because enterprise edition contains all features of the SQL Server. In the same way, we have standard edition also. Standard edition, generally what happens, the major difference between enterprise edition, standard edition is cost will be reduced, even features also reduced. But sometimes if you don't have more implementations in production, then we can go for standard edition also. But as in my career, I never worked with standard edition for production. We always worked and working with enterprise edition of the SQL Server for production, right? So coming to next scenario, you have development environment, QA environment. See, development environment, QA environment, we are not going for the database administration related configurations. Am I right or not? Database administration related configurations we are going to do on production only. Test environment, development environment, we are not going to do anything. That's why no need of all features of the SQL Server for development server. In the same way, QA server. There, what to do? You have to work with the developer edition of the SQL Server. Because developer edition, it's kind of middle range. Because it contains limited features, limited cost. Developer edition is enough for development environment, test environment. Then we have, of course, mobile edition. Mobile edition is especially for developing databases of the mobile applications. Even we won't get chance to work with the mobile edition, right? Then we have Express edition also. Express edition, what happens, it is completely free edition. We can directly download it from official website of the Microsoft Corporation. But Express edition, we cannot use it for real-time purpose here. Express edition, it is only for, practice purpose. It contains basic features of the SQL, right? In the same way, I think you have some idea about resume. You don't have real-time experience. I know that. That's why coming to real-time, I'm only going to explain everything. But resume, at least you have some idea about resume, fresher resume, experienced resume, something. In resume, you're going to keep experience. That means you're going to keep some project. So this is the project I'm working now, or I worked previously, or I'm working now. This type of information will be there. There you have to mention what is the operating system you are using, what is the version of SQL Server you are using, what is the edition of SQL Server you are using. You have to write it as enterprise edition of the SQL Server. Okay, right? That's why you should know editions information also. What are the editions available in SQL Server? Different editions. Okay. Some people will neglect. They feel like this is very basic. If it is very basic, then why I spend time? Tell me, am I right or not? So coming to next scenario, you should get something related to operating system, because there is a lot of confusion. You take my laptop, Windows 7 is the operating system. You take Amit laptop, Windows 10, Bhargav Kumar laptop, Windows 10. Suppose Sangameshwar, Windows 7, Karthik, Windows 8, something, just example. So we are using Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10 basically, right? So we are installing now, practice purpose, we are installing SQL Server on top of Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, and we are finishing practice. We are getting ready for the interview, getting ready for the job also. But you know one thing, these are client operating systems. Okay, in real time, we are not going to install SQL Server on top of client operating systems. In real-time environment, we have to install SQL Server on top of server operating system. I'll give you that information also now. For example, you are working with SQL Server 2008 or 2008 R2 release 2 or 2000. Yes. So these are the operating. This is your SQL Server. Then your operating system will be Windows Server 2007. We are using right now. We are working. I told you, right? Suppose you are working with SQL Server 2012 or SQL Server 2014, then your operating system will be Windows Server 2012. Even in Windows Server 2012 also we have R2 release 2. Okay, you can use Windows Server 2012 or 2012 R2 Windows Server. Suppose you are working with SQL Server 2016 or 2017 or 2019, I'm sorry. Then your operating system will be like this. Windows Server 2016. Okay, na? Your operating system will be like Windows Server 2016. You try to remember, please, because generally, if somebody wants to test you, whether you have very good knowledge, you practiced well while learning course, but some mistakes, not major mistakes even, not major, minor mistakes will create troubles. That's why. See here, this is the information. Okay, na? We are always working, we are always installed SQL Server. I'm talking about any environment, production environment, test environment, development environment, any environment. We will go for server, Windows Server operating system only. So SQL Server, Windows Server, these are the scenarios. These are the scenarios you have to remember, please. Even in Windows operating system also we have editions again. Of course, that is not our task. That is related to Windows administration team, right guys? But they will ask you enterprise edition only. Even Windows operating system also, Windows Server operating system also, we are working with enterprise edition only. Remember, please. Okay. SQL Server enterprise edition. Windows is also enterprise edition. Why we need confusion? Am I right or? Okay. Okay, Suresh sir, you told me one thing now. SQL Server is related to DBA. Windows is related to Windows administration team. What is this Windows administration team? Tell me. Because we are DBAs, right? We are database administrators. Why we need to interact with other people? Why you are talking about Windows administrator or somebody? These are questions you can expect from your end. Generally, what happens, yesterday we discussed about tickets. We are going to get different types of tickets. Of course, they are related to SQL Server only because you are SQL Server database administrator. Okay. But in your project, not only DBA team, other teams also there. Right? Other teams will be there. Suppose this is the DBA team. Along with you, Windows administration, Windows administrator. I'm thinking if any spell mistake, don't mind, please. Administration team will be there. Windows. Then in the same network team, administration team will be there. Application support team will be there. In the same storage team is also there. Okay, what is the meaning of application team? Who will be there in the application? See, yesterday we discussed about application layer, database layer, right guys? Application layer, general application will be developed by .NET and Visual Studio for Microsoft. Okay, now maximum scenarios for Microsoft environment, application will be Visual Studio, .NET. I think you heard about .NET, right? VB.NET, C#.NET, ASP.NET. So their support will be there. Application team will be there. Okay. In the same storage means you are working with the database means you are going to store data in the disk, right? Right. So somebody has to take care of disks. If disk fails, what is happening? Tell me, you are going to lose your data, right? You're going to lose your data if disk fails. So somebody has to manage storage also. And storage means internal disk will be there. SAN, I think SAN. You heard about SAN disk. They will be there. Nowadays, what is happening? We are going to sometimes, not every time. We are going to store our databases in cloud also. AWS cloud or Azure cloud. This storage purpose only we are using. Storage. We are going to store our databases in cloud. So anyhow, storage team will be there separately. Along with them, QA team will be there and development team is also there. Some projects QA development team every time will not be there, but if it is required, then only they will come to environment. Otherwise, they will not be there in the environment. But maximum projects development team, QA team will be there. Okay, so this is really important. So we are going to work with them. Now, question is, Suresh, why we need to work with other teams? Common questions, because you are in the beginning of the training, right? See, for example, you have different SQL servers connected through network. How you connected to my system now? Through network, internet only. Am I right or not? Okay. In the same way, different servers we have, different servers will be connected through network, internet or local area network, LAN, LAN, local area network. See, in this case, what happens, suppose there is some issue with the network, unable to connect servers. Your DBA, if issue is related to database, you can resolve because you are database administrator, right? But the issue is with the network. Because of network, your SQL servers are unable to connect. Because of network issue, you are also facing issues in SQL server. Can you resolve this issue? No, you cannot, because you don't know anything about network. You are not from network team. You are from database administration team, right? You are from database administration team. So what to do? You have to work with the network. So combinedly, teamwork, kind of. We are going to work with the network team. They will resolve network issues. After that, you will check whether servers are coordinating, connecting, whether servers connected or not. Kind of. This type of issues will be there. That's why as a DBA database administrator, we are also working. We are working with our team, DBA team, database administration team, but we work with other teams also. These are the other teams we can expect in our environment, in project environment. So they'll be sitting with us, right? Clear? So this is the way. Yesterday, general scenario explained. Today, I started with SQL servers only. SQL Server Database Administration only we started today. So this is the thing, complete information. So next class tomorrow, I'm going to work with installation, configurations, post installation checks. After completion of the SQL Server installation, what are the configurations we are going to do? What are the post installation checks we are going to perform? That and all I'm going to explain in tomorrow's class. Okay, right? So this is second class. Tomorrow's class will be third class for us, right? Yes.